we again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, is Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear, tips plus the world's best quiz. The Cubs, PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.
Good evening, Betty. How are you?
Good morning. Actually, no. Yes,
Morning
it's
to
still
you.
the morning. Still the morning here. Bomb dear. Bomb dear. Okay, another podcast, another week, another podcast, and we have got a juicy one today. Very juicy. Why is it juicy? Because we have got a man who pretty much started this podcast.
The
And this is a
OG.
man, the OG, and he doesn't usually hold back. He usually speaks his mind, which is what we like. He has just become a world champion for the
Again.
second time, which is pretty impressive stuff. But we have been seeing some murmurings online. There's lots of talk because we haven't seen much media coming from this World Championships, which is the IFCA World Championships down in south of France. So we're going to be speaking to Maciek Rutkowski. Yes, he's going to be telling us about what went on down in the south of France, you know, how the racing panned out because the forecast wasn't good. It came through. We're going to be talking to him about, you know, what's been going on over the winter, what's going on in racing, what's going on with Maciek Rutkowski. So this is all about Mr. Maciek Rutkowski. And
Bring
his
him
new
on.
World champ. Let's bring him on. Let's hit the button. Here he is. Look at him.
You, what's up, guys?
Here he
Thanks
is.
for
Look at
having
it.
me.
Is that a trophy cabinet in the background?
I
It
just-
is, isn't it?
I just got it installed like
Installed.
a week ago, so
You knew it was
So-
coming.
It's looking a bit
no,
full
but
already,
not
Maciek.
the trophy, but it's the first time in my life that I have like a trophy cabinet, so might as well flex it.
Wow. It's a bit like, have you seen, is it Ricky Gervais who's got the trophy cabinet in his background? When he does
Yeah, that's
when
the
he does
Oscars.
when he does his Oscars.
He's my idol.
Let's have a look at it. I guess it's a fixed camera, or can we have
No.
a look? No, let's have a look. Come on, let's have a look at these. I want to see.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. There's a lot there, Maciek.
Oh, which ones are you most proud of?
It's hard to say actually. I mean, the PWA one is in the living room, so I guess that
Too
one.
big for the too big for the trophy cabinet.
No, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely that one would be the most, you know, the most proud. And from the events, I think Croatia 21, that was actually like everyone was there. It was only a 2-star, but everyone was there. And I don't know. I try to judge by performance, not by result. And that was probably, if not the best, then one of my best performances, you know.
What's the best looking one?
I think the PWA one is just so iconic, you know.
Yeah.
The wooden sail and that. So yeah, but
Well,
yeah,
obviously
let's
you've
maybe
just-
change
you've-
the subject. It's getting
Okay.
awkward.
No, but you've just won, obviously, a World Championships. We're going to talk about that because we haven't seen that much media from France. I mean, I was like the kind of windsurfing fan. Obviously, I've got windsurfing TV as well, so I was always looking out for new media. The most I've seen has actually come from Nico Preen's channel. I'm just trying to think. Why is my mic? Hang on, you might have to take over because something's not working here.
Apparently everything is loud and clear. Well, that's what
Yeah.
Sharewaves is saying.
Yeah, to just piggyback on what Ben said. I mean, I think we get to appreciate how far we've come with the PWA, with the live stream, with the social media, the interviews, post heats, with all this kind of viewing experience. Am I out?
It's all right. No, we're
okay.
just focusing on you.
Okay. With this sort of viewing experience that we get on the PWA, when I watch wave events, it's kind of the same, you know, that when when the live stream's good and you got drones and you got, these kind of things, post-heat interviews and stuff, it's just the viewing experience so much better. And with the IFCA, it's obviously, it's a smaller organization, a lot of volunteers working around the event. So it's always, let's say slightly lesser standard, but thanks to that, it's cheaper and we can put it in a place like Le Cat, which is a place that normally in spring is just non-stop howling. We got really unlucky.
I think we got to speak to people who maybe are listening to this podcast who haven't got a bit of a clue, maybe didn't listen to the last podcast. So let's just set it up, because I think firstly we just need to set up. A few people already know this, but I think it's worth doing. So at the moment for racing, you have the PWA World Tour, which is obviously what we're used to watching. It's what I do my commentary on. And that is, events throughout the year. Obviously the Slalom X, which is, I'm not sure what's happened to Maciek. He's disappeared. He's gone black. Oh, there he goes. He's back. No, but so it's the Slalom X is 2 competitions this year, which makes up the World Championships for that. So it's a tour. And then in the foiling, there's only 2 events this year, which is towards the end of the year, which is Silton, Japan, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, Maciek.
I can't hear you now. I don't know what's up.
Okay.
Oh,
let me get in and out, and you guys keep talking. I'll get in and out.
Well, so far this has been a bit of a slow start to this stream, but basically we've got the World Tour, PWA World Tour, which is what most of the guys focus on. Now the IFCA is for me. It's like it feels like a stepping stone in between the national series and the PWA World Tour. So I would say that's kind of where IFCA fits in. And as Maciek said, it works on smaller budgets, which means they can go to different places. It's usually in a different place every year. And you get a lot of young guys coming up through this. So the youth come up through this. They've also got masters. And I think, if I'm not wrong, there was over 120 competitors down in...
160.
160. There you go. 160 competitors. So, when we're talking about all these sort of problems, what we have to remember is where this event fits in and why it's there. You need that stepping stone really for that international experience. And it's all, fully signed off from World Sailing and their official world titles. So for the federations in each country, the youths and the masters and stuff can get support to go to these events. They're fully recognized. Now, usually,
you get. Said, let me chime in, because as you say, like for example, Turkey, Jimmy Diaz is like the coach of the junior slalom team, basically, and he had like 20 something kids with him just from Turkey that they were wearing like Turkish team clothing, and it was, it's as you say, it's recognized by World Sailing, therefore you can get some public funding for it. And actually, probably a lot of people don't know, when I was coming up, there was no PWA youth or junior events, and my actual breakthrough that managed to get me any type of sponsorship support was an IFCA Youth World title. I won that, and I managed to somehow get a little bit of something going to actually go on the PWA tour. So as you say, it's a stepping stone. It has its place, but I think some of the issues around it could be solved regardless, and we should definitely strive towards doing that. And I think sooner or later also it's going to be part of one tour, unified and whatever. So in order to do that,
that's the goal, isn't it? Because a lot of people are asking that. So we saw that almost a carbon copy with the wave stuff. So the IWT felt like this kind of stepping stone to the World Cup a bit ago, and then it's kind of now joined into whatever it is right now. But it's definitely really encouraged those middle events, the 3 stars, the 4 stars, and it would be amazing to see that in the racing, because it is a strange one. A lot of the time we've seen the IFCA World title, which you have just won on the fin. We're going to be talking that in a minute. Not all the boys have been there or all the girls have been there, whereas this year it was every man and his dog was there. Was there anyone missing? Like, there really wasn't many people, if anyone,
it's the first
missing.
time. It's the first time I've seen that every single top 10 PWA rider was there. I've done this event like every few years. The last time I did was 22. The last time, but like last few years, like last year, I think only Jordi and Bruno were there, and I think the rumblings you hear online, they're also like a result of the fact that all of a sudden everyone was there, and all of a sudden the racing was a lot more cutthroat because everyone was there. You know what I mean? So then it feels like a PWA start line, because you basically have all the guys you would have in a PWA final,
Yeah. So I got to ask this question, right? Should you guys be going? I mean, I've got my own opinions. I actually like seeing you all there. And I again, I've touched on it on other podcasts where I say, like, in mountain biking downhill, they have a World Championships, which is a one-off event, which has its own, thing going with it, and then they also have the World Tour, but they're both equally well attended. In windsurfing racing, you guys haven't attended IFCA, but actually I thought it was really interesting to see everyone there. One event, and in fact in the fin it was one race, which was it's proper on the line. We're going to be talking about that as well. Again, for me, one race, 2 races, 10 races, you still got to win. There's no one winning a race by luck. It doesn't happen. You've got to do numerous heats to get to a final, and then you've got to come up with the goods in the final. We see it in the Olympics, 4 years for one race sometimes, which is kind of crazy. So in windsurfing, yes, we obviously want more race in different conditions. That's nice. But when it happens, you've got to do it. And that's kind of what happened with you. There was a lot of foil racing going on there. So firstly, first question, should everyone be attending IFCA? Or should it be left as a stepping stone up to the World Cup? What's your opinion on that?
It's really hard to answer straight, because in a perfect world, it would just be a part of the tour with similar standards as PWA. But it's not. It's not a perfect world. And I can see both sides. I can see, like, there's no racing spring event. Like last year we had Guadeloupe. There's no racing spring event, and the sponsors, they want to get their visibility in their selling season, so they 100%. Want the riders to be visible. There is the point of like a rider's union point or a rider's well-being point, where you think, like, you go to an event that is 20,000 euro prize money between fin and foil. So let's say it's 10,000 per discipline. I don't know if it cuts like that. I don't know the exact percentages, but let's say it's 10,000 euro. The judges are volunteers. There's no media. So then if an organizer, a PWA organizer, sees that, they will think like, wait a second, why are we paying these guys 45, 50 grand to come? And why do we have to spend 20 grand on live stream or 30 grand on live stream? So if that happened, that would be really bad, because we still want the Fuerteventura insane show, we don't want that event to be the media standard that the IFCA showed. And by going there, we sort of legitimize that model. We say it's okay, it's good enough for us to show to go there, And then there's the third very selfish point, is that when you win, you reap some benefits. And I think historically it's been like not many people going, and somebody maybe not having the best of this off season, or somebody sponsors push, or somebody's just like, okay, I have a good chance at a world title, and few guys would go, you know. This year, I think it's been a lot of sponsor pressure with, no spring event. But again, is
But
that good for the interest of the riders?
Racers have got to race. Like, to me, I'm sitting here, windsurfing TV. I'm like, what? There's no, there's no races. So for me, I was kind of ready for this event. I was like, wow, this is actually really cool. I was just disappointed because I saw footage from there, which looked good. And again, this is me not having to go because I know the standards are less, but I still think actually what I wanted actually sitting at home, which I'm not usually sitting at home, I'm usually at the beach. And I think when you're at the beach, you get a way different feel for an event. When you're at the beach, everything feels like everything's happening. And when you're at home, it's crazy how different it is. And the most common thing is, as soon as the finish has happened, when you're at home, you need all that information really quickly. You want to see it. But when you're at the event, everything's going on, the prize giving's happening, and it's all, you don't really, I think sometimes that media doesn't get out. And this was the disappointing thing. I thought the event looked good. We're going to come on to the starts in a minute because there was definitely some controversy. I have to say it like that because we were seeing it. It wasn't just one person saying it. There was a lot of people saying it. So I think we have to touch on that. But essentially, the racing looked good. You know, like I said, all you boys were there. The top girls were there. Youths were there. Masters. But I finished the event and I was none the wiser, apart from, posts from you guys saying where you came and stuff. And the videos at the end of the day were just generic. And I have to say this because I remember Costa Brava was guilty of this in the past. Like, I was sitting at home. I never did Costa Brava. And I'm looking at the end of the day, at least to get some context. What happened? What, something like some sort of news about the day. And it would basically be just people going around. And it's like racing for me, I couldn't give a shit. If I see like a glimpse of Formula One, just people driving around the track in random orders, and I don't know where anyone finished or what happened, it is absolutely pointless. Like, yes, it's maybe some people go, oh, it's beautiful. But to me, I'm interested. I want to know, like, I would have rather them just filmed the finals or filmed and said what the race was. If they'd have just filmed the final in total and just put it online, this would have been such good media compared to this generic single shots of random stuff. I agree.
And the point I didn't mention in this kind of go or not go, I think also the synergy between having, let's say, the top guys there and the youth there was also really cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool because they get to sort of see what it takes, how we prepare, what kind of people we are. I mean, guys come up to me and I was stoked. They come up to me and they were stoked to come to talk. And they were like, this was some youth guys. And they were like, oh, we want to go to Fuerte, but it's a bit expensive. And I told them a few hacks, how to make it cheaper, how to, share accommodation and how to maybe, rent a car when you're not 25 or whatever the limit is, things like that, So this part, that part is really positive. So it's like you have these positives and negatives, and it's never black and white, But
to me, from the outside looking in, I think it's a good thing. I personally think you boys should be there. I think the media, I think they just need a clear idea of what they're trying to do. And for me, a racing event just needs news. Like, everyone will have different opinions on this. But for me, I want to see the people that did well that day. Or I want to see the race with my own eyes. And even if it's just the final, I'm happy with that. I can take what I can take from a final. That's it. I don't. Having live stream is an expense. I get it, and I don't think it needs to have it. It's amazing to have it. I think it adds a lot to it, but it doesn't need it. But the video, if you don't have live stream, you at least need one drone guy who just films the finals, and then you just put the finals on, and that would be for me the bare minimum. Like, and I think this was possible.
Question to you guys: like, would you prefer to have an event like this every week or every 2 weeks, or have like, or let's say like this, if us going there meant that other events are going to be these type of standards, is that good for the sport? Let's say it's you know what I mean? Because there is this thing like, what's good for the sport? To have events is obviously good for the sport. But if the consequence of because as a rider, what's your leverage? You either go or you don't, right?
Well, I've got an opinion on this. I was
like chatting, like putting stuff on social media, it doesn't change the world. I'm sorry, but it never has, and it probably never will. Your responsibility and your leverage over the situation is whether you go or you don't. And now everybody will tell you go, it's good for the sport. And the question is, if the consequence of us going to lesser events and getting world titles from these kind of things would be that the good events lower their standards, is that actually good for the sport or not? And I don't have an answer, but I'm curious to.
I've got an opinion. Paul, do you want to go? But I mean, for me, you need to be competing. Like, you need to windsurf.
Getting a bit of feedback there, Benny. Actually, so much. Can you guys hear that echo?
Yeah.
No.
I can.
Okay, so it's me. So I need to mute.
Test
Okay.
1 2. Oh, okay,
that's better.
that seems to have done it. I drove down to Perth for the last 3 or 4 days, and I was driving and wasn't being able to pay full attention to what was going on in the IFCA. But what I was curious about, Maciek, was, so at this event, correct me if I'm wrong, but there just was nobody with a drone or anything. There was just nothing there. There was.
That's what I mean. They were doing a video.
Okay.
They were doing a video every day, and there was footage.
Okay.
That was for me what the frustrating thing was. And they had Greta there doing some talking, but the only problem was, to me, it was like I never got any information from it. So it was more like sort of, oh yeah, we did some racing today. And then it would show random clips of races throughout the day, which is, I think for some people, they might like it. For me, I find it horrendous. Like, I really want to see the final. I want to see what happened, why Maciek didn't, he was, like I saw some races where actually it looked like you had a bad race, but actually you went down on one jibe mark. And when you're a racing fan, they're the bits you want to understand. What happened? Why did Maciek finish 10th in the final? Why did, Amado come first or second? Did he win from the start? Did he get the good start? So I think as a racing fan or someone who's interested, it's like, think of it in tennis. When you look at it like this, it's ridiculous. If you just showed random shots of people hitting balls at Wimbledon and you didn't say who went through which heats and who beat who, you would go, what the hell's this? You'd be like,
yeah.
I don't think you have to sell us on the idea, Benny.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Preaching to the choir here.
But with the IFCA, is this how it's been like for each year in previous years? Like, it's the same kind of thing. So there's been no talk about trying to solve this issue, or?
I mean, the thing is, always it comes down to budget and manpower, and it's funny because I think some people, we love the sport and we romanticize about the sport, but sometimes it's just that simple. And yeah, basically to run an IFCA World Championship event, media is not part of the standard. I think you have to have a photographer, and that's basically it. You know, as you say, the videos. I mean, for example, the drone was up in some pretty random heats. You know, like I saw a heat of like a semifinal was filmed in full, for example. You know, and then
This is the bit I didn't understand. Like, and again, I understand that the standards are lower. There's a lot of volunteers, and that is what you have to make windsurfing competitions happen. So I'm not here to say, oh, they're all doing a shit job. I just thought they just needed some direction of what they needed.
Yes, you are.
No, but okay, I'm saying, I'm not saying they need more. They need to do live stream. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, with what they had, they could have done the job which needed to be done without too much extra work. You know, just to film the finals and upload them without, you know, cutting. You just put a drone, film the final and put that up. I think that would have been less work than what they actually did. So you're kind of thinking, you had this, if they had no footage at all because they couldn't afford a drone guy or a video guy, I get it. I get it. But to have a drone guy and to have a video guy and to not give you like some context, like they had Greta doing the talking. She could have at the end of the day give a summary of what happened. You know, just again, I know that's easier to, I know what it's like after a whole day of racing, but even just to kind of say, okay, this was I don't know. I just, like, for me, it felt a bit of a letdown because I was excited because everyone was there and you had conditions, which I didn't look like you were going to have conditions. So I was trying to follow it. And you know, there's little things which kind of annoyed me, which are not hard to fix. So the YouTube channel, if I'm going to call them out, I've actually messaged IFCA. I'm not just saying this behind the back. I messaged them and told them. I think they've got their videos set to kids, you know, like, because normal people, when they do a YouTube channel, it says kids and they think, oh yeah, kids. But it's not. If you click the kids thing, it means it's actually for kids, babies. So it doesn't give you comments. It doesn't give you anything. So you can't interact with the video. And then the thumbnail, there was just some random thumbnails, which again, you don't need to have an amazing thumbnail, but you at least need a picture, a screenshot, or whatever it would be, which would like at least look inviting to click on it. The first two videos were just random people and it had nothing to do with windsurfing. And you know, I had them on the windsurfing timeline on the website and I was looking at them thinking, it just looks wrong. And I'm thinking, like, this is not because they can't do it. It's because someone isn't bothered. And that's what kind of wound me up a little bit, because IFCA is not new. It's been around for a long time. And I've spoke to him about certain things. And the things I'm talking about doesn't take any extra money. It just takes someone to care a little bit or to pay attention to it. And I just know that's not their priority, which it doesn't even have to be your priority. It just has to be, you just have to have it a little bit higher up on the list than nothing, because you've got the best guys in the world. You want windsurfing to look good. And this goes back to the question you said before, is should we be going to these events? Should they happen? I think you should, and I think they should be happening. And should the media count? Like, windsurfing is about windsurfing, and that is the problem. So, and this has always been the problem. You could go and do a load of windsurf events with no media coverage, and all the windsurfers who went would be super happy. But obviously, the more it goes into a professional and a sponsorship thing, and the more now we're online and we're interactive and we have fans that are interested, okay, it's only windsurf and it's small, it does have a bigger effect going out and encouraging. But you do need windsurfing events, because otherwise you buy all this expensive gear and then there's no events. And that also is kind of useless as well. So I think there's two sides to it, but I think, and as I've said before, we need regional events. We need local kind of regional, out the back of a van type events where people get into racing, which doesn't need all the crazy gear. And you build these communities low down. They move into regional events. They move into national events. It moves into IFCA, moves on to the World Tour. Without that like platform, it isn't going to get there anyway. Because
Benny says I'm the one opinionated and ranting.
Okay,
Benny,
I am.
it's all right, Benny. You're saying what we all pretty much think. We just hope. We just want to see you, Maciek. We want to see you on the race course. This is what it's all about. We want to see it, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, hopefully. Well, this year. Oh, I'm getting a fair bit of feedback here.
Yeah, it's Maciek.
Oh, sorry, Maciek.
I need.
I need some headphones. You can go find them if you want. While Benny and I can chin wag away. Yeah, because it's seemingly the first year you've been around the scene, or the competitive scene, longer than I have, Ben. But correct me if I'm wrong. But this is the first time I have really been paying attention to this IFCA thing. Really,
because there's more people this year. Because more of the big guns have gone. There is less competitions early season. Again, I am ranting because I want the feedback to get through to them, because I honestly think that it isn't like such a big step to go to a level where there's more information from the video side of it. Again, I'm obviously biased. Windsurfing TV. I'm trying to a windsurfing kind of fan looking in, trying to find out the information, and I couldn't get that information. And I know it's not easy.
Well, I think the long and short of it is, if you're running a serious windsurfing, supposedly a serious windsurfing competition in this day and age, I think the absolute least that you can expect, and this is just for future, obviously the event's done now, so we can sit here and sort of complain about it. It's done. But for moving forward, I would say that for any event organizer that's running an event that is serious, or wants to make it look serious, as an absolute minimum, you do what you say, Ben, and just at least film the finals. It's not that hard with today's technology. Even if you just press record, film the bloody thing, and upload it with no commentary. Yeah. I mean, as an absolute 100%. Minimum. But that's and that's hopefully that happens in the future. Because it would have been interesting to watch it a bit. But it's cool though, because here we are talking about the IFCA, whereas I don't think we've really ever done a podcast talking about it, Benny. So obviously, it's on the radar again. Well,
drama's always good. Controversy is always
good.
Bit
of drama, Maciek. And since we're talking about drama, what the hell was going on with the start lines, Maciek?
Yeah, basically, as we said, it's volunteers. It's volunteers doing the thing, so you can't really expect, a 75-year-old sailing judge with probably a lot of experience, or I didn't really dig into, because I don't want to get like frustrated or whatever, so I don't really dig into who the crew is. But all I know is that the countdown normally, because what we do is we catch the time on the first flag of the procedure. So in PWA it's 4 minutes, in IFCA it's 3 minutes. And you stand next to the start boat, and the judge, the line judge, or as we call him, the PRO, the principal race officer, he goes like, okay, like heat number 5, get ready for your countdown in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Right? And at mark, you catch you click your watch, or you click your headphones, whatever you have. And then you're not anymore looking at the flags or whatever, because you have your timing. And at 0, the start line opens. But here, it was more like, heat 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then 0 goes, and then sometimes the horn would be at 1. Because I didn't say, at mark, you get bang, you also get a horn, And here, sometimes the horn would be at 1, or sometimes would be like half a second after the 0, or, and also like the guy was saying 0, which takes a second to even. So is it on the Z, or is it on the?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It sounds funny, but it makes a
No, it's
massive
just
difference. Doesn't
yeah.
it?
Sorry, it's
It
just
makes a
funny.
massive difference because if you think it's basically we're traveling at 15 meters a sec 15 meters a second, right?
Yeah.
So half a second, man, is 7 meters. It's like 3 board lengths, and a massive over early is 2 board lengths. 1 board length is a big over early,
But
so then, like, there is some videos with the horn being like after everybody crosses the start line, but we don't know because the horn is another person.
Yeah.
And there's like, and sometimes, and obviously, you need a trained eye to be really sharp.
It's hard, isn't it? It's not as easy as people think. Like I saw
it's very
some
hard.
comments, and I tell you what, if you look down the line, even when you know that's going to be a close one, I find it. I would hate that job. It was not a job for me, that's for sure.
So basically what happened was at the beginning of the event, we were starting the way we would start, and then, we kind of realized, so we would go a little bit earlier and a little bit earlier and a little bit earlier and a little bit earlier, and nobody would get called over early. You guys watched PWA events. It's probably 1 every 3-4 heats gets an over early, there for the first 3 days we didn't have even one. So you kind of as a rider,
I was about to say, is that a bit like having a referee in the Champions League where there's a few fouls coming in and he's like, we'll let the game flow just to keep it, because there's a lot of people, like you say, 160 competitors. The forecast wasn't great. Is that, I know that shouldn't be like that,
conspiracy theory.
No, I'm just saying.
Conspiracy
is that like,
Ben.
It's obviously close. No, because sometimes these starts are so close. Like, we've obviously mentioned it before. Surely, in this day and age, there should be some sort of technology which has like this laser.
Yeah, it's called an iPhone.
Well, no,
you just film the bloody thing.
No, but you
Ben,
think
it's really simple. You film the thing. This is what they do on PWA. You film the thing. The watch and the line have to be in the frame. That's also like people, this is evidence, but there's no watch in the thing. So the guy can be saying everything, like in national events, I've seen judges go like 5, 4, and the fleet is coming close. So
and they start speeding up. Yeah.
So there, so there has to be a watch in the frame to really properly judge. And then if the guy was not sure, he has to have a look quickly at the video, and then he can call it. We can be already on the second mark. If they call it over early, we go back and we race again. It's really not that, not that difficult. But here they were quite liberal, let's say. It felt like we were going over early for times, and we would go earlier and earlier with the start. So then people started getting called over early. And and Amado was leading the event, and he went over early. I was on the heat with him. I was like, whoa, like it was an early heat. It was a quarterfinal, and I went early, but I went safe early. But and he was like a board in front of me, and they called him, and he basically went from 1st to 4th on the event. And he was upset. He was upset, obviously, because before it felt like there was some over earlys getting let go, But again, this goes back to the point I mentioned in the first place. We knew it's going to be like this, and we go, therefore we sort of, I don't know, legitimize that sort of thing, so so to then, like, you don't get to like cherry pick, this start was over, and or like, somebody wrote, it was not even a rider, it was a brand, like, the Finn race was over early. Man, like, all of them were judged with that same standard. That standard was not up to PWA standard. You know, you don't get to cherry pick. If you go, you sign up for.
Because that was what it felt like bad afterwards. I saw, obviously, I don't want to say sour grapes because there obviously was a problem, but it didn't look good for the event. You know, we're putting it on the podcast now, but I'm only putting this on the podcast because I've seen so many people mention it. You know, even some brands mentioning it, obviously some sailors mentioning it, and it wasn't just one. So usually I don't like to talk about this sort of stuff if it's not backed up. Like, I wasn't there, I can't say anything. But it's
we need to address it.
Exactly. You can't ignore it because there was obviously some issue that was happening. But I totally agree with what you said. If you sign up to this, if that you already know it, you know, isn't it? It's been talked about before, and that is the reason
it's been
why...
this has been like the IFCA experience. I mean, in Paro, last time I did it in Paros 22, the starts were the same. The difference was there was a sandbank in the run-up, so actually you couldn't also start in the middle of the line because you would catapult. So, you know, it's like, and all of a sudden now people are like complaining. It's a little bit,
but we can't complain too much because we need windsurfing competitions. Like, this is they're going to be a dying thing, you know. So, like, I don't want to bag out like guys for organizing a competition and put it on, because windsurfing racers need competitions. They're a dying breed, organizers. I really think that. You're one of them. I mean, but it's not easy being an organizer. So then at the same time, you don't want to totally, but I think there's some things that IFCA could just draw a line on, or make, you know, like, let's say the start line, they could have a guy that is always doing the starts that they take to every event, and they kind of say, look, this is our guy. And then they've got a standard for that, because that is the one thing that needs to be accurate. If nothing else is, this guy on the start needs to be the man, you know. The media, there needs to be some sort of newsy or finals filming that they say, okay, you can do what you want, but we want to see the finals, or, you know, whatever. And at least have these minimum standards of these two things, which would then, I would clear up most of it, because on a whole, I would say it looked like a good job done, you know, but without these two things, it shades everything else, because there was a great turnout. You know, they got wind, they got competition. You know, it was good.
I'm trying to imagine what the scene would have been like at this comp, Maciek, because all your PWA guys are obviously looking for any little edge and trying to be very precise, and you're working within very strict framework. And to try to compete with this loose arrangement with the start line, I could just only imagine the mental gymnastics you guys had to do. That would have been actually an interesting behind the scenes kind of thing, actually. Yeah,
the problem is, if you complain, right? People must have benefited and lost. You know, there's going to be winners and losers all the time, and sometimes the same person can be a winner and a loser. So it's very difficult to complain about. I saw a couple of riders who complained, but also they benefited, or must have benefited, because they actually did all right. So
exactly.
Very
you don't get to cherry pick. You don't get to cherry pick and say the foil was fine and the fin wasn't, or the other way around, or whatever. You know, it is, that's the standard. And if you don't like, as a brand, that your racer got screwed, don't send him there. It's as simple as that. If you don't like it, either fix it or don't go, you know, because it's not a new problem. It's a bit funny. Like, now it's just under a spotlight because everybody was there, you know, and that's the only difference.
What about if all the brands just chip in to get a guy that just does that calling down the line? Because there are genuinely people who are really good at it. I would be terrible at it. I'm you know, like, there is definitely a certain type of brain, a certain type of person who is good at that job, and it isn't just anybody. It's like there's certain jobs in this world which you can't do.
It's experience.
Yeah.
It's experienced judges. It's experienced judges, mostly PWA judges that, that they go from, when you sign up to be on PWA crew, first you're probably pulling up anchors, then maybe you're doing the flags, or, and then you get to that point. So you've learned also by being behind these guys, you don't become the race director straight away, so there is people, but you need to pay them, you need to accommodate them, you need to transport them, etc., but yeah.
But I say on a whole that you're world champion. And what do you think about this then? Because you're world champion, there was one Finn race. What's your take on the one race?
My take is that before we had foiling, this was a lot of events like that.
Yeah.
And I've never seen the winner humble himself and say it was one race. In fact, I know people that have talked about events for years, one race events, as if they dominated and stuff. And so many times I've been on the receiving end of this kind of thing, like one race in super light or with, a flexible start line or whatever, and it just feels good to win one of those, because I don't think I've been generally on the good end of this,
That's got to feel pretty good.
But I don't understand. So I'm not understanding this. Obviously, we'll use the Olympics as an example. There's a 100-meter final, one chance, bam, done. So what's the issue? I don't get it.
There's no issue for me. I was just wondering, Maciek, because I know certain the races sometimes they moan about the other guy. Oh, there was only one race, and I'm like, for me,
no, but that's, I'm asking Maciek. Like when people moan about it, you just go, that's it. It's a race. I don't know. You just go. Yeah,
it seems fairer. Certain racing sports, they crown their champions based on a tour or based on different conditions, different circuits, different weather, different whatever, and it seems like the fuller package. But as I said, we've had these events, and I just, for my own well-being and my own mental state, I'm not gonna punish myself just because it was one race,
Yeah. Oh, look, the thing is, obviously it's the intention of an event organizer to do a complete round of races. But if the conditions only allow one race and that's it, anyone complains, sore losers. Like they're just like, wait, that's it.
You said
the story.
No, but I totally agree.
Yeah.
Question: what happened? Because we don't know. We didn't see it. I was actually watching the Nico Preen video thinking, oh, he's going to give Maciek his moment because he's Neil Pride JP. I thought he might give you a little bit of a nothing. I was like, oh man, that's I'd have a word with the boss.
Teamwork.
Yeah, but I was genuinely, I'm not digging him out. I'll tell him to his face as well. But I was kind of thinking he might do a bit of a. No, but there was no other cover it. I couldn't. I wanted to see the race. I don't know what happened in the final. Talk us through it. What gear you were on? Because literally, this is our only experience of that final. It's going to be through you now.
So basically, from when we arrived, there was a spot of Tramontana on Saturday night and Sunday morning,
which is the strong wind from the mountains.
Actually, can I just butt in for 2 seconds, Maciek? Because as you're discussing this, I just want to bring up a map here because I'm not familiar with this area. So you can just quickly explain what this means and whatever, right? So I'll just zoom in.
Okay, so the bit on top is Europe and the one below is Africa.
I know. I'm just zooming in.
You're familiar with that?
Look, here we are. We got France. Everyone know where France is. Good. So now we move in.
Yeah.
Sorry. So, but this is the spot. I'm very unfamiliar with this spot. So maybe you can just quickly explain.
But if you zoom out, if you zoom out a little bit. So Tramontana in the Mediterranean is basically the name for northwest wind. Wherever you go in the Mediterranean area, Tramontana means the same thing. And there, basically, the northwest wind really accelerates through. If you zoom out, you see two mountain ranges, you know, and it really accelerates in that stretch of coast from Grisson to where the Defi wind is, all the way to Le Cat or maybe past Le Cat, you know, and that's where in that stretch of coast, that's where the Defi wind is, that's where the Mondial du Vent is, and that's where the Speed World Championships are. You know, they're all in 3 different places, Grisson, Le Palme, and Le Cat, but it's all the same. And Le Cat is actually like famous for this Mondial du Vent and also for a lot of activities that go on in this lake, in this saline type of salty lake. Actually, Julien Tabou.
Sorry, where's the event? If I just zoom in on where in this lake
the
is the
event is right on that little ridge, like up. This right now in the top of the screen, it's called La Franquie. You need to go north, and it's on the sea, more north.
Where
here.
the green thing is, yeah.
Yeah, where the green thing is, exactly.
Oh, okay.
And that's basically the last bit of where the northwest hits really well, you know. And those lakes, they have windsurf centers, like Julien Taboulet, he has this windsurf center in one of those lakes, and it's it's a really popular place for windsurfing, you know.
Okay. All right, great.
So so basically you either get strong Tramontana or you get these kind of and that's like basically spring and autumn, winter as well, or in the summer you get sort of thermal wind onshore from the east or southeast, things like this, you know.
All right.
So
well, back to your race.
So we had just checking my battery where I am. Okay. So we had basically like 3 days of, you know, this kind of thermal light winds, very, very light, like, you know, between 7 and 11 knots or whatever. And then you always saw that there was something brewing for that Sunday morning, for that last day, you know. And you know how it is on the beach with wind and forecast. You'll get one local that says, this, because Tramontana normally there it lasts like 3-4 days. You know, it doesn't last 8 hours or 6 hours, you know, it lasts. So they were like, this is not happening. And other people were saying like, it's going to be 25 knots. So you never really know. And actually Saturday night, like around 7 p.m. it came and it was like about maybe 18-20 knots, you know. And it was supposed to be like that in the morning and then die off as the temperature goes up and as the thermal sort of battles it, you know. So that's what happened, and we were out on our 8-meter sails and our big fin boards, like 85 wide. You could probably be on smaller gear, but because the forecast was to drop, nobody out of the top guys was taking that risk. And the first few heats, I was overpowered on it. But by the time of the final, it was perfect, you know. So I was on 8.2, 85 wide board and a 44 cm fin. And, you know, whether it's 8.5 Severn, 8.4 North Sail, whatever, everybody was on that type of equipment. And the water was pretty much dead flat, offshore wind. So, you know, so really kind of conditions which racing plays a huge part, especially start, first reach, first jibe, right? You're not going to see anyone going 2 knots faster than the other people. So we get to the final and, you know, all the big names are there. Everybody's there. from the favorites. Nobody had any major mistakes or anything. And
so, in terms of names, give us some names, because there'll be people out there who maybe don't know the favorites, but they'll probably know the names.
Yeah, like Pierre Mortefon, Matteo Iachino, Jordi Vonk, Amado Vrieswijk, Bruno Martini. That's basically myself. That I think that's like the top 6 of the World Tour last year. Maybe the highest ranked rider that didn't make the final was Nico Breen. He was on my side of the draw, which was maybe a little bit tougher. You don't have seeding. I mean, you'd have some sort of seeding, but it's from an IFCA ranking, which we don't do. Yeah. So the seeding is pretty random, Yeah. So our side of the draw, actually, my semifinal was Pierre, Matteo, Bruno, myself, and the last one who made it was Pierre Marquer. So,
yeah, I saw that
5
in the video.
people making.
He jibed inside Nico. I mean, it looked fair enough. Like I heard Nico on the video go, "Oh, come on, Pierre," and I'm thinking, well, it's a race, and he ended up beating him, and he was like, well, again, interesting.
Yeah. So we line up for the final, and I didn't have a good foiling event because I stopped like quite a few times, and I just didn't have a good foiling event. So in my mind, I was like, okay, this is it, and I felt really good. My gear was working really well. Neil Pride, it has a huge range. So with the offshore, it's always a little bit gusty, but I also felt fast, the quarterfinal, I had a decent start and I won. The semifinal, I had a bad start and I still, came back quite comfortably. And,
How heavy are you at the moment?
94, 95.
Okay.
So I'm more or less like, just under the average, I think. Like Pierre and Matteo would be a bit heavier than me. Jordy's like probably 107 or something incredibly heavy.
He's a dad now.
Yeah. Yeah, he's massive. He's also like, he's 194 or something, he's quite tall. So I'm probably just under the average. And I just, though I like to start in the middle a lot because it gives me sort of, a lot of the times there's a fight at the pin, and only one person gets out of there cleanly and the rest gets completely destroyed. In the middle, it kind of gives you, a little bit more, breathing room around you. I can sort of pick my spot a little bit better and have a little bit of space.
Was the wind moving? Because usually when it's dropping, like I know in the Defi wind, sometimes the wind moves. So if you're at the one end of the line, you can get smashed. Or was it not moving? Pretty solid.
It was pretty solid. It started dropping only around 11 and we started 8:30. So actually the first elimination we did in really good winds, and we started the second elimination and that's when it got really dodgy,
Okay.
So I think I started third from the pin, and I got to sort of accelerate down on the guys at the pin. You know what I mean? Kind of slingshot myself down to the pin from the middle, and I got that start and first to the mark, and that was it. It was pretty straightforward from there. I don't know what was going on, if there was a lot going on behind me or not. For a moment, Amado was somewhere close there, but then we hit a big lull, and I pulled away. As I said, I have to give credit to my equipment. It was really, really, really good. I spent only, because last year we didn't race the 8-meter sails at all. So even though this sail is the same as it was last year, it's a new sail to me, and I only sailed it maybe like 4 or 5 times in Tenerife, and it's just awesome, it's just so good. And my board too, So
Interesting to
yeah.
see Amado in second. I mean, I wasn't expecting that. He's not kind of obviously he's a beast. We know that, but interesting to see him up in second. If I was going to make some predictions, probably wouldn't have had him in second. So that was quite
Yeah, he got
impressive.
second in Tenerife.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, good point.
So I don't think like sometimes people put labels, and I've been like labeled a foiler before, and then last few years people tell me, oh, you're so much better on the fin than you are on foil, and things. People just like to categorize you in a way. And
what's
I think
your take? Sorry.
Go.
I was going to say, what's your take on 85 wide boards and slalom in those conditions? Because that is obviously a place which is not really catered for on the PWA anymore, because you've got the foiling and then you've got the Slalom X, and the sort of 8+ meter sails and 85 wide boards is not a thing anymore on the PWA. So is that a missing thing? Should we be doing more of that type of racing? What's your take on that?
Hey, if you have a New Pride and a JP, it's a lot of fun, because you just push it, you just stand there and get first to the mark.
No, but it's good. It's quite interesting sailing that type of gear, because I think a lot of people, it's like rails.
It's very different because it rails like actually like out of the social media stuff that I posted in the last, I don't know, few months. The one where I'm actually going on a 85 wide and it rails like crazy and it's just there on the fin. It got like the most engagement because people, I don't know, maybe people are not used to seeing it anymore, but it's different. It's a different type of sailing, and it, obviously it's a little heavy around the jibes, you need to crank it really, really hard because the board is really wide, and it's it's different. You're going to pump out of every jibe, most likely. You need to be jacked to actually jibe that thing planing. So it's different. It's very, very different, and it's quite hard to overtake. So it's a lot of like follow the leader. Therefore, it's a lot about the start. It's a lot about the start.
I was just noticing your hair, Maciek, and it's looking extra, special at the moment. Then, of course, I realized you've got a new sponsor with Garnier, so I'm assuming that's got something to do with it. Huh? Is that you want to tell us about?
That's a good plug.
You want to tell us about your new sponsor, mate?
Yeah,
tell us, mate. That's pretty cool. This is a bit.
It's actually a fun. It's a fun story because they came on as a sponsor for the event for King of the Bay. 4th to 7th of July, everybody is welcome. June, sorry. And then they were like, "Oh, we like this water sports thing. Why don't you become our ambassador as well?" And I'm like, "Yeah, cool." And we worked out an agreement, and hopefully they're here in water sports to stay, and they'll spread their arms more and more. Because it fits. We're on the beach, we're smiling, we're getting sun blasted, we need our sunscreen, and I don't know, it just fits. I think it fits really well. It's a happy brand too. It's like a smiling, very positive, colorful brand, so it's cool.
No, but all jokes aside, I love seeing non-windsurf brands, like seeing sailors or events for that matter, getting sponsored by any industry outside of windsurfing, because windsurfing needs money outside of the sport, so to speak, the actual industry itself. So it's great to see that they're supporting you and the event for that matter.
Yeah, I think if you look at it really through our sport's values and what it represents, it's a very attractive sport to outside of industry sponsors. Is just that we need a little bit more of numbers. We just need a little bit more of range engagement, this kind of reach engagement, I meant to say. So we just need a little bit more numbers, and we'd be all millionaires. I mean, this podcast would have 2-minute long sponsor blocks. You'd be just like you guys be discussing like, oh, should we take on one more sponsor, or are we good with the 20 mil per episode we're making, you know?
When, just for anyone that is not aware, and I'm certainly not really aware, but when you're dealing with a brand such as Garnier, which is obviously a very big brand, and they're sponsoring you, what's the deal? Do they kind of say, well, we'll sponsor you, but you have to do A, B, and C? Like, you've got to post once a month or do this or get certain results. Or is there any requirements that you have to fulfill for the sponsorship like that, as far as, those sorts of elements? I mean, what's the...
Yeah. You got to have hair.
well,
Wow.
No, actually.
Have they got beard products?
Hey, hang on a minute. What's the famous
what's that?
burnt flesh and wash and go? He didn't have hair.
Yeah.
Have they got any creams
No,
to
I'm
help us
joking.
grow
Look,
some hair?
it's I think it's very different case by case.
Yeah.
Because nowadays basically the prevalent, I think, type of marketing around ambassadors is... You good, Benny?
I'm just laughing at us. It's like Paul's saying, oh yeah, we get sponsored by Garnier. It's like the two worst ambassadors. Bald bastards. Sorry,
I might hit them up. Go on. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Finish.
Yeah. So nowadays with ambassadors, it's a lot of, there's a lot of influencers and a lot of that kind of marketing. So it's a lot about your social media output. And where I think windsurfing is really special is the fact that the sale is basically like a massive billboard, and you get a lot of extra visibility, just by placing branding on the sail and on your clothing and whatever, things like that. So it's a combined contract between branding, between social media, dedicated content, and also some not dedicated content where they're also visible, and stuff around the event. So it's quite a complex. I mean, I think the contract was about 17 pages. So it took a while to process that.
Wow.
Yeah, because look, we were talking before about the media output and videos and so forth, but for you, winning an event and having the big billboard on the sail, it's important to get that out there. And obviously, if there's no video, then it's also it's a little bit of a missed opportunity
there is a few comments on that as well. Frederick Bonnet
on your hair.
Yeah, there's definitely a few. Actually, Fred's got some good hair on him. He said I covered the World Speed Championships 2 years ago in La Palma for myself. I spent 8 hours filming all day long, all for free. Nobody contacted me. Like there is ways around all this stuff. There's a few. Actually, we've got a super chat here.
We've had two, actually.
599. Blimey hell, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So keep it up, guys. IFCA at an empty beach with no live stream was mad. This is not the Defi with 1,000 people. Nobody saw the racing. The only thing, and I appreciate the super chat, I would say the only thing with that is the kids, the masters, all the people competing had an event to go to with a world title in the name. So there is benefit in that because people are getting some racing. But I totally get what you're saying because, again, for me here, it was kind of like frustrating, I think is the best word. It was more frustration because I went to the IFCA when it was in Denmark, and it was I thought it was amazing seeing all the kids and there wasn't all the top guys, but there was a few top guys there, Bruno Martini and a few others, and it was like I thought it was such a cool event. And I like it happening. I think it's good to have that one-off, as we said earlier. And I won't keep going on about that.
You briefly mentioned at the start of the podcast, Maciek, there was some behind-the-scenes talk about whether they can incorporate this IFCA into a combined toury thing. Can you talk a little bit more about what was said there, or was?
I mean, I think it's very clear that a world tour should be 5, 8, 10 events, and also lower level events. And I think it's not a new idea that every single racing event in the world could be, could be in one ranking. It's just that there are certain things which need to be discussed and need to be approved, before, because if you really look at like this kind of PWA standards, this event, it had less prize money, it had no live stream, so it would be a lower level event, yet it's a world championship. So how do you, it's, and there's interest, there's different interests, there's world sailing, there's, IWA, there's IFCA, there's PWA, there's all these kind of things. And it's really, really frustrating as somebody that loves the sport so much to just, see it kind of just get it figured out, like the IWT, PWA joint tour,
how does that happen? Because I would imagine
just put your fucking egos aside, just everybody needs to, because
where's the friction?
I've been in, my first IFCA joining with PWA meeting was like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was like, we really love you guys to join. Yes, but we're the true world title because of something, and
so
it's
hang
like
on. Who's speaking to who here?
PWA is speaking to IFCA, and it's like, let's join. Yes, but we are the real world. No, we are the real world title. No, and it's like, and it's just becomes like an ego trip, and same thing like we're watching with IWT and
well, you can see
PWA,
it. You can see it happening with winging as well.
Yeah,
and we've seen it happen with kiting, and it definitely the ones that spread out and have all these different tours, it doesn't work. Look at winging.
Winging is booming around the world. It's overtaking kiting in terms of amount of gear sold. But I mean, the tours are just not, I don't know, they're just not super strong, I'm just walking around because I need to move to my computer soon because I'm about to run out of battery. But, like, basically it's always the zoom. You need to zoom out and try to look what is good for the sport, because if one thing is good for the sport, everybody that's in the sport is going to benefit, and
so how do you see that joining up? Like let's say, okay, they both agree, let's say they both agree. How do you categorize? Like, I'm guessing you're talking about a star system, so 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 star, like they've got in wave sailing, would be the most simple. So are you kind of saying, okay, 5 stars, all the PWA events, and then maybe the World Championships in IFCA, or does it have to have certain standards? What you thinking?
I think the star, yeah, I think the stars like could go with the standards. So if you have, let's say, I just joined with my computer, so let's try to, sorry about this, not very professional. Are we? Yeah. Okay, now I'm here.
Okay.
Wait,
green
sorry.
screen.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Just need to switch here to the headphones again. Fuck. Sorry. Yeah. So it can be different ways. It can be the standards. The standard can be, the stars can go with the standards, with the prize money, with the with these kind of things, and then keep IFCA as a separate world title. Why not? I mean, it's as you say, it's a one-off, and then I don't know. I don't see.
But I think this is the problem. I don't see anyone coming up with how to fix that whole thing, because from I understand it, like you say, for 15 years or whatever, this conversation has been going on. How do we put it all under one roof, let's say? a little bit like what's happening in wave sailing, but it does cause problems because people are like, well, yeah, we've already got our own world championships. We've already got, why do we need this? And you're like, it's frustrating because you can see the benefit of having it under one, at least ranking system.
Yeah, I think it's like a demand supply type of thing, where like in waves, what happened in waves was like, okay, the IWT has the, let's say, wave riding locations, and PWA has the riders, so it's like a demand supply type of thing. We supply this, but we have demand for the other. We supply this, we have demand for the other, In slalom, for years, like PWA didn't seem to need the extra IFCA events so much, but now there's participation in the IFCA event, and anyway, PWA seems to need more events, so perhaps these talks will accelerate and the sides will be able to make more sacrifices. You know what I mean?
So, but my question is, I'm guessing this isn't happening because IFCA are like, well, what do we get out of this? At the moment, we're still doing our thing. We're still got these events. So what do we need?
Well, what IFCA can get out of it is, for example, some media support.
Yeah.
But
that's what I mean. This is what I guess needs to be discussed, is like, because I'm guessing IFCA must be saying something along these lines, like, why do we need to? Like, what are you? Because I'm guessing the PWA is not coming in and saying, okay, IFCA's going to be above us. They're coming in and saying, well, you're below us, but you can join us. I'm guessing. I don't know of the exact talks, and I guess this is where the problem is, because I did hear some positive things not so long ago, thinking, okay, it looks like it's going to be, coming together. And then I spoke to different people, and then they were like, no, chats, it's not even close. It's like they're miles away from.
Yeah, because I mean, they could just you could still, like, say there was a tour where there's the PWA events and the IFCA event, and they all have the star system. The IFCA event could still crown a world champ, even though they're all, there's a tour, right? It's a bit like, you've got the tennis and you go to Wimbledon. If you win Wimbledon, it's kind of a prestigious thing on its own, even though, you know what I'm saying? Like, they could still do all that, right?
Of course. I mean, I think so.
Yeah. So it's quite amazing that here we are in 2026, and this has been talked about for so long, and yet they just cannot seem to get it together.
Okay. I'm going to put it a different way. Let's say I set up a wave rally in the UK, and it's not as good. Let's say, and no, and I come to you and I go, oh, you come to me. No, actually, no. How does it work? What's the alternative?
No, I've got something. I've got something to add to this. So you've got a slalom tour, you got Fuerte and what is it, Tenerife, and IFCA, and someone says, "Oh, we're going to add wave rally onto the slalom tour." Okay, and they go, "But it's going to be a 2-star event. It's not really going to mean much. If you win it, you're ranked 500th in the world." You know what I mean? And you go,
"There you go." Paul's ego wouldn't accept it.
No, I'd be like, "Go for it." I was like, "Please add your logo on there. Great, let's go." No, because it's like, what's it? It's not going to affect the actual world champion. You're not going to become a slalom world champion winning wave rally, but it just adds another element to this tour thing, and people can decide if they want to turn up or not. Yeah. I don't really, as an event organizer, I have absolutely zero problem, or I don't understand what's the issue. I really don't.
Well, the issue so far has been, like I told you, so they get together and they're like, okay, you can be a 5-star if you match these standards.
Yep.
Yes, but we're the world championship. How can the world championship be a 3-star or a 4-star? It has less prize money, it has no free accommodation, it has no media, etc. So it's like, and then the other side gets offended or whatever. I tell you, it's just sometimes I've been in committees and on the management board and stuff, and sometimes you just cannot believe simple things that people cannot get past, And
yeah.
And I think the three of us sitting here were quite, we're able to, let's say, think of like zoom out and think of the bigger picture. But sometimes with some of these people, it's like my way or the highway, and they'd rather, keep their little, you know,
Piece of the pie. Yep, I
piece
get
of
it.
the pie than grow the pie. And it's been the main, I think it's been the main issue of windsurfing in general, like
Well, you say that, but actually, out of all of the water sports I can think of, I think windsurfing is probably the most united, or has been the most united, and
yeah,
that's
I
probably
agree.
why it's actually done so well. Because although windsurfing has got I say an unfair rap or a bad rap over the last whatever years, it actually survived some pretty tough economical
Yes,
times, considering how big it is in terms of size of the market compared to a lot of other sports that were probably doing better. So I think there's quite a lot to be said. They've done a good job, but I think now it's probably even tougher and it needs to be even more together. That's what I would
I
say.
agree. I 100% agree. And I mean, this is what happened in other sports, as you say. Oh, we don't like the racing format on the GWA, the Wing Tour, so we're going to start our own tour,
Yeah.
you know? And they did. And that tour is for the moment doing okay. But again, there's no live stream, no media. The brands are not supporting it. The brands, I mean, I know like the top guys from the wingfoil racing, wingfoil World Tour, I think it's called Wingfoil Racing World Tour or something. They're like not getting any industry support, for example, because it's
Yeah.
just, because the industry wants their guys to go on the GWA, which the racing it's closer to what the amateurs do, so it's not these, super high aspect foils. You have a pumping leg,
Yeah.
you have like shorter courses, more media oriented and stuff. So there's already this divide. And I mean, it happened also in windsurfing where our friend Finn Nor, he wanted to make an event, but he didn't quite like neither organization to the fullest. He didn't want to do an IFCA event. He didn't want to do a PWA event. So he started his own tour, you know. But I think this is not the way to
But this
go
can
and to
work.
grow the sport.
But I think this work if it's
Yeah,
in this star system.
yeah,
I
exactly.
think there's not a problem
Yeah, but the
starting your
star
own.
system is there for ages. It's been there. I mean, we had Croatia 1 star, 2 stars. We had all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
It's been there for
Yeah,
No,
but
yeah.
if you
but I
went,
mean
yeah,
incorporating other organizations under the whole banner, or it all
But
has
they
to
don't
be
want. That's the thing.
okay.
Like if you I
Okay.
spoke to Finn and he didn't want, the Finn Nor is the organizer of the EPWT.
WT. Yeah.
Yeah. Which he made a nice event, but that event would be would have so much more impact if it was a part of the world tour, you know? So and I think you did live stream and Benny was
Yeah.
commentating on it and stuff. But it's just like, I
But
think
again,
people need to
that
be less particular in order for this to work, It's, it's just that less particular and less like format oriented as well, because the thing, windsurfing is the best thing to watch when it's like over 20 knots. I think whether it's wave sailing or slalom, it's just really, really good. And the one, and so many times we just get hung up on equipment rules or format rules, whether the sausage is good for viewing or it's not good for viewing, whether the chicane is good, whether, we need one more sail or one less front wing and this and that. And of course, this is all valid and all, it makes our sport, but at the end of the day, that's not what makes or breaks the entire ecosystem, and
but
because if there's not enough money in that ecosystem, that's what breaks it.
but do you not think the reason there's no money in it? This is what I see from racing right now, me personally, and I keep banging on about it, so I'm probably like a broken record, but the full regional national series are not, they're not well attended, you know, and for you guys to get paid, this is where the building needs to be, because these are the guys that buy gear. So this needs to be fixed. Like the top, everyone keeps working on the top. Oh, we need live stream, we need standards, we need this, which is fine. But unless there's a base, you guys are not going to get paid from the industry as much as you should do. If this base level was providing, like, you know, like I said, here in Martignal, we could probably have some racing. Again, you need to have people who have got vested interests. So a shop, some sort of local business, you know, some kids in the game. You know, I see it in the UK. The Wave Tour is going strong now because one of the guys, his kids are coming up. He's motivated to keep the tour going, and it's changed the whole atmosphere, you know, plus obviously volunteers and stuff. But the main driver needs to be someone with skin in the game or a reason to do it. And I know growing up, again, I've talked about this already, but regional events were freaking well attended. It was crazy, like crazy.
Yeah, and you know, it's just like, it's just this the quality of people that sort of take care of it. You know, as you say, one guy very invested into it can make a lot of the difference. I mean, look at the Wave Rally post sitting here after, you know, like 2 super successful years, or you're mentioning the British Wave Tour, or, you know, there's things of that nature. But, you know, for years and years, when things were going good, there was no investment made or no thinking about how to make things better, because things were generally quite okay, you know. And now, when everything's shrunk, now everybody starts talking about it, but also I don't see many people doing things, you know. Like now we have, for example, on the Polish association, now we have a new board and a new chairman and stuff like this. And they call me up and they're like, okay, you know, we're gonna have a little bit of prize money in our tour, and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that for the tour, and our national tour is gonna be this, and you know, the Polish Cup and the Polish Championships and this and that. I'm like, okay, guys, but like, what about below that? You know, in Poland, we made this estimation that there's probably around 20,000 people learning to windsurf every year.
Wow.
And there's 25, 30 people on the national tour.
See, this is what I was saying to Paul yesterday, actually. It's like,
it's 0.1%.
I could ring 20 people and get them. You know, we're talking about such small numbers, you know, and everyone gets excited when they talk about Turkey, because Turkey youth fleet is pretty active.
But dude, if you're saying 20,000 and 20 people, that's 0.1%.
That's what I said. That's 0.1.
I thought you said 1.
No,
yeah.
Let's get it to 1% and we're golden.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So why are these people not staying in the sport? Many of them don't even know what is possible in the sport. Like, you'd show them a clip of us racing and like, whoa, I didn't know that was windsurfing. Or you show a clip of Marsilio riding a wave and I didn't know. You know what I mean? We're not even reaching out to these people these days. The world has changed. You know, there's no more magazines and websites and things like that. These days, like, it's the feed of your phone. And if something doesn't show up there, you don't see it. You know?
I think it's got to be lower than that. It's got to be literally, again, we were talking about this yesterday with Mr. Van Bellen there. It's like, you need a reason to go. Like, people go to yoga. They go to do yoga, but they also go to see people and have a coffee and, you know, do whatever. And windsurfing, that is basically like the stronger communities, the stronger scenes in this world, which again, I've mentioned it before, but Browers Dam springs to mind as a hub where people go, and then there's friends, and then they go windsurfing, surfers in Sweden and places like this. You know, there's lots of different places. I saw someone on the WhatsApp group yesterday saying they started off with 17 people and now it's 250. There's a uni, the Dutch uni people have got a massive following. And again, these are the sort of little things that you kind of go, Team 15 in the UK when that was running, you know, and it was all like regional efforts where people would turn up. They hadn't got a clue what was going on everywhere else. They were just doing their thing. You know, it wasn't media, there wasn't anything else. It was just like kids clubs. And then they kids would tell other kids, and then that got bigger. And then they were like, okay, well, now we're racing regionally. And then it was like, oh, maybe we can go to the nationals. We'll take the few guys and we'll go to the nationals. And then every region goes to the nationals, and there's a massive amount of people. And these are the little things which, like, if windsurfing wants to get bigger, or the racers want to get more races, it needs to be at that base level. Because without those base level, the top will never change. It will be you guys, and there's no middle. Look at the national fleets now. Apart from France, again, I don't know. I'm making this up, but I would imagine they're a hell of a lot smaller compared to 8 years ago or something like this when they were kind of.
But I tell you, man, people are so protective of their, you know, like I was speaking. So I did this Baltic crossing last year, and I was talking to some guys, top level competitors, and we were talking about these kind of projects. And I'm like, yeah, I was thinking to do a race. You know, I was thinking to do a race across the Baltic the same way I did it, but with, you know, maybe a couple more people or a kiter, a boat, whatever, you know, like an interdisciplinary race. And they're like, oh, but why would you share your spotlight? Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, people think so small, you know? People just see what's like right there in front of them. If
So I
you
didn't understand, Maciek. What's he saying? Why don't you share your spotlight? Is that what he's
no,
saying?
why would you? Why would you share your spotlight?
Okay.
Like the fact that I'm gonna organize a race across the Baltic and there's gonna be other people as opposed to just me.
Oh,
You know what I mean? And I'm like, really? Like, this is your thinking? And if this is like, if these are people that, you know, are ambassadors of our sport, it's like, if people think that way, they only think about the next $1,000 that they can make, or the next, you know, just next contest, next what's in front of them, their own little interests. The thing's just never gonna grow, you know. So this is basically me crying for people to
Okay,
kind
this
of.
a valid comment. Just
well,
come in,
I want to actually comment on this as well. But yeah, sorry, you go, Benny.
Yeah, DL Windsurfing says that goes back to what Ben was saying about volunteers in the sport. Without volunteers, the small clubs don't grow. These same volunteers are the ones criticised if anything goes wrong. And it is true. It is very true. So I'm contradicting myself.
I have a hot take on this.
So do I. But anyway,
because
you can
I'll just say,
the time of volunteers is over. Nobody these days, nobody works for free. Nobody.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Well, that's not my experience. Depends on the event, huh?
But it's not about
grassroots. Grassroots is still volunteers.
Look, when I was coming up, every parent had time to be at the events, help out, do this, do that. What are the parents doing these days? The world has changed. It has sped up. Everybody's fucking working this, that, 2 jobs, projects. You know what I mean? We need to create an ecosystem where there is a sort of belief that we're gonna benefit down the line. You know, that every one of us is gonna benefit down the line, you know?
Yeah.
And then you can expect people to maybe put in, 100 hours up front or whatever, without getting paid or without benefiting. It's not always about getting paid. It's not only about money, because there's very different benefits you can get, you know.
But do you not? Sorry, I was just going to say, do you the criticism? I think it's not necessarily the payment. I think it's easy to criticize people, like literally I did earlier. You know, we calling out people. Do you think these are the volunteers that sometimes, like, you know what? What's the fucking point?
Yeah,
And
but that's why it doesn't
Yeah.
really work, no?
Yeah, I look, in my experience, depending on where you are in the world, might have different experiences. But I'm doing this wave rally event, and I have a pretty loyal band of volunteers. But there's a couple of things I want to say. First of all, if there's an event run and a volunteer makes a mistake, or there's some F up, or for example, wave rally, I take 100% responsibility as the event organizer. You cannot blame, because basically, if there is a system failure, well, who is in charge? This idiot. Well, then I'm the one that gets the blame. No volunteer gets the blame for anything, right? So that's the first thing, because obviously, that's what I'll say about that. And as you said before, Maciek, you can't always pay everybody because the budget might not allow it. But there's certainly lots of things you can do to keep volunteers motivated, by recognition, providing lunches, providing food, making sure that lots of little things, and obviously keeping the workload as simple and as less taxing as possible. If you tell a volunteer you're going to start digging holes for the next 8 hours, well, they'll be sick of it within the first 5 minutes. But if it's a fun job, if you could make the jobs within the windsurf event really quite fun, then obviously they're like, oh, this is easy, I'll do this, you know what I mean? So that's the other thing I'll say. But yeah, like Ben and I, we were talking before about this issue at the start line. Yeah, okay, they're volunteers, but ultimately it's the event organizer that has to take responsibility for that, because they're the ones putting those volunteers in place. That's what I'll say about that.
But if we loop it down to like the base level, which is kind of what we're talking about, regional stuff, which doesn't have the same critique as this, usually those volunteers, like you say, when I grew up, my dad's generation, it was all the parents that were putting it in. And it is getting harder and harder to find those people. But those people definitely need some, like I said, some sort of vested interest, whether it's their kids, whether they've got a business that's going to, benefit in certain ways. And this really is the only people are going to step up, unless they're totally retired from it and they've got zero else to do and they love that type of, type of thing. I mean, but
exactly.
I know, for example, I was saying to Paul yesterday, because we had this similar conversation, not on the podcast, but I was saying, like, Sagres here doesn't really have a kids club, but as soon as my kids are old enough, I'm going to be making the time to, do something, because I've got a vested interest and I'm going to be pulling people in. I'm going to be, I'm going to be much more motivated. At the moment, I'm not finding that time because I've got other things to do and they're not old enough to kind of enjoy it, which maybe seems selfish, but I just think that's more normal way of things happening, which is why things have got a lifeline. Like Wave Rally for Paul, he had people contact him. Most of these people who want to set up a Wave Rally in their own country, one of them has a shop, one of them has whatever, there's some reason that they want to, keep that community or that little team spirit or whatever going in their area. And these are usually the guys that are doing well for themselves, because they're already thinking, okay, how can I keep everyone together? How can I keep people motivated? And it just needs...
And down the line, everybody will benefit. Everybody will benefit, because you set up your kids club and, probably a few years you're going to work your ass off. But then when it gets to a certain level, you'll make money because maybe, I don't know, a local shop will support it or whatever. That shop
not on about making
will actually...
money, but it's more like I want to see
No,
them
but I
have
mean,
something.
there's nothing wrong in benefiting. People are still thinking like, oh, this should be pure. There's nothing wrong in benefiting, but
I don't think that's the benefit you're looking for.
Sometimes it's delayed, the benefit. You know what I mean?
I don't think that is. I'll be honest. I would not even be thinking about money or anything. More for me, it's just giving my kids some platform that they haven't got at the moment. And seeing them enjoying themselves would be a big enough reward, which would make me work my balls off. Which you know, the amount of money you're going to make, or I can't even think how you would make money. You're doing it more for them to get the experience, or at least give them the opportunity that you have. Because I think windsurfing, when you've done it and you've lived it, you realize it gives so many benefits on lots of different levels in life, in everything, dealing with lots of different things which are not related to windsurfing. They're actually more related to life experiences. So for me, I could see why parents would want to go above and beyond, you know. And again, the Team 15 thing in the UK worked because there were paid people within that. That was all funded by the RYA, which is the Royal Yachting Association. And there was people who were the main organizers were paid. And that was like basically a kids club. So people will go down after work and go, right, have my kid. Here's like £2.50 or whatever it was. And it's basically like an activity for, I don't know, a couple of hours. And then they obviously make friends. And this, you know, formed into, you know, Olympians and all sorts of good stuff happened.
Nothing to add, nothing to say.
We're speechless. I'm trying to share a document, but it might not be very successful. If anybody wants, send me an email at info@waverally.org. But I actually went just on this subject of volunteers about 18 months ago. The local sports federation here did a info night with an expert, and the whole topic was volunteering and retaining volunteers for sporting clubs. And they gave me a PDF, which I have right here on my screen, but I can't share it. If anybody wants this document, it's only 2 or 3 pages. Send me an email, info@waverally.org, and I'll happily send it to you. So
I want it. I'm paying everyone.
Oh, man, I'll send it to you, mate. Yeah. I mean, it's tricky. I get it. But the other thing I'm learning with events too is really try to keep things, you know, keep things simple as possible where you can. Right? Like sometimes I go to events and I think there's a lot of unnecessary bells and whistles, all sorts of stuff, you know. Obviously it's anyway.
The problem is windsurfing is a participation sport which needs wind. So like when I get asked to make, like I had a physio appointment and they say, all right, we've got one in 3 weeks. I'm like, 3 weeks? I mean, how can you plan that far ahead? It's like, it might be windy, you know, and if there's only one windy day in 2 weeks, you don't want to be doing other things when these things happen. I find it's one of my really big problems I have in my life. I'm really hard to that far ahead. I hate planning stuff. That's more a personal thing probably than anything else, but it's tricky. I'm just looking at a few comments coming in. What's this one? We wanted to do a community race at our local lake and even got backing from Duotone with price items, including a sail. But the guy that proposed it opted out as soon as paperwork was needed. And that's the thing. That is one of the bigger things that's happened more recently, or not more recently, but over the last, I don't know how many years, everything gets more complicated with, you know, insurance and this and that. And I think back when I was growing up, you know, it wasn't a problem. You just opened the back of your car let's do a race. And a lot of the time when I used to do it, it was done through sailing clubs, which already had all these things in place. And I think we've drifted away from the sailing clubs, and then trying to organize stuff without the backing of a sailing club becomes a lot more complicated. And I think that's another one of those kind of problems.
The Ben Profit bingo, sailing clubs, lightweight category.
It's very true. It's very
what
good,
else?
actually.
What else is there?
There is quite a few. Regional racing.
Yeah. Anyway, boys, I think we covered it. I'm getting hungry.
Ooh, no worries.
No.
It's a feed.
So I'm about to
Go eat, mate.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. No, thank you, Maciek. Thanks for joining in, mate. I think a lot of people miss your podcast as well, your one-on-one podcast.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to get back to that. And I think a lot of them also sort of, you know, like it's been 2 or 3 years or 4 years since I spoke to a certain person, so I can almost speak
Josh Stone.
to it again. Yeah, Josh Stone. Maybe
yeah.
he show up this time.
Yeah.
Third time lucky
Actually,
or fourth time lucky.
Before you go, because I know it's coming up pretty soon, do you want to give a plug to your events, because that is about to happen, right?
Yeah.
Or it's coming up.
Yeah, so 4th to 7th of June in Rewa, Poland, we are doing King of the Bay, which is basically a water sports festival, and the cherry on the cake of that is a long distance race across the bay and back. But mostly it's just a community event to share experience, to windsurf together, to watch the new gear presentations. There's test gear. There's gonna be international ambassadors coming, like the riders, and there's just all sorts of stuff, parties. We're doing night racing, where a lot of fun stuff. Just it's basically like 4 days of fun. If you come there, you're entertained from the moment of the opening briefing of the day till probably around 2-3 a.m. You're entertained.
Same places that I went to?
Yes, exactly the same place. It's grown quite significantly, and we intend to keep growing.
Perfect. Nah, it looks good, man. Look, you've done a great job. Great job.
Yeah.
Amazing, Maciek. I'm blown away with what you've achieved there, because it's quite amazing. Quite amazing, honestly.
Yeah, we got around 425 entrants already. Still a month to go.
That's crazy.
And that's pretty much the amount we had last year. So
like in the scheme of water sport events, that's right up at the top there with numbers now, isn't it? I mean, you got the Deafy Wind, I guess, is the number one, but this is getting up there.
Yeah, I would love to sort of claim it's the number two, but I genuinely don't know. There's a couple, there's events like the Surf Festival in Femar, Germany, which is basically a festival. It's a big test event. There's events like the OBX in I think it's North Carolina, US. That's a big long distance race. There's a few of those, so it's definitely a format which allows very different skill levels to be present,
Yeah. And look, I know I might be blowing smoke up your ass, as we say in Australia, but I have to say, Maciek, I am honestly incredibly impressed, because like I said, I do an event that is considerably smaller in scale than what you do, and I know how much work I put into that. Plus, you're doing, world tour events. Plus, when I met you in Australia, you don't really stop, because you're here. You're trying to get footage. You're trying to keep your sponsors happy. Honestly, it blows me away what you're able to achieve there. It's crazy.
We spent probably like 5 or 6 days together. At which day were you over it and ready for me to leave because it was too intense?
The longer I stayed with you, the more I liked you, Maciek.
Day 2.
When I first met you, I thought, I don't know if I can do a day with this bloke. But by day 5, I was like, I love this guy. He's fine. He's fine.
By day 5, Paul was like, yes, let's go.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Once you stopped giving me shit, I really liked you then. It was cool. So,
never stopped.
No, but honestly, like I said, I actually don't know how you do it. Huh?
Ben, he calls Narlu onshore.
Let's not go there, mate.
Yeah, trust me, I have been with the best when Maui is onshore, and I'm like, what the hell? This is not onshore, boys. Trust me, you need to come back to proper onshore. Yeah, onshore.
Oh dear. Anyway, thank you so much, Maciek. All the best for the rest of the year, and obviously your event. And I will see you on here, no doubt.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for entertaining my trip. Also, I've been listening to you on the road the 22 hours to Lecat and 22 hours back.
That's why we do these 4-hour podcasts, mate. You know,
Okay, so I guess I'll give way to the other 2-hour guest you're about to.
Yeah, good job.
Right.
World champ. That's a good way to kick off the year, because I'll just end on this, because I was looking at the results, obviously, even though that was bloody difficult on the IFCA website. I found him finally, and I was like, oh, he's not having a good one in the foiling, you know, because it didn't quite go your way.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I had a smile on my face when I saw you won that fin race, because I was like, oh, the forecast could be it. And I was kind of updating it during the day, thinking, is there going to be another elimination popping up? And I was like, oh, it looks like he's done it. So well done, man. As, like I said, all the boys are there. You know, one race, Pierre was the foil world champion. He won the first race of that. So, you know, that kind of says it all.
Yeah, if there's one IFCA you want to win, it was that one. So
yeah, good job, man. Good job. Good job.
Cheers, boys.
All right, cheers, boys.
Stay in touch.
It's that time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress, in the house is Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear, tips plus the world's best quiz. Carbs, PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing